What's up, y'all? It's Wayno, and I just jumped off the porch with Dirty Glove Bastard. Man, y'all gotta make sure y'all tune in. Y'all know me, got them gems. Stay tuned.
Hey, Ocean Blue 10, I'm a shark in the bin. Try to tell me I ain't shit cause I fucked all they friends. I don't love a
Alright, we got my dog Wayno jumping off the porch with us today.
What's good? What's the deal?
How you feeling, my brother?
I feel good, man. This is, today been good. I woke up on the right side of the bed. I feel positive. My mind is in the right space. Like, I'm good. Can't
Real
complain,
spill, man.
right.
It's a pleasure to have you on the porch with us today.
I'm honored to be here, man. Like, I seen a lot of, when I finally got here, I'm like, damn, I ain't know, like, I'm trying to figure out like how all these people be fitting up here and
Hey,
shit.
man, jingle block. They be on it, man. I don't know how they be doing it, but they make it fit some way, somehow.
It's all good.
But nah, nonetheless, it's a blessing to have you here with us today, man. So tell me, what was life like for you when you first moved to Atlanta?
What was life like for me when I first moved? It was kind of madness when I first moved, only because when I bought my crib, I was renovating it and it wasn't ready. So like I moved down here and they wasn't ready, so I had to live in a hotel for like the first 2 weeks. Like me and my family had to live in a hotel for the first 2 weeks. So that was kind of a little messy, but it was cool. I mean, I've been coming down here for a long time. Like my cousin Daryl, he moved down here in like '99 and they never came back, you know what I mean? So I used to be down here, I used to ride the bus down here. My cousin lived in Swanee, you know what I mean? I used to go to the club down here like 2000s, like when Ludacris first came out, Pastor Troy, all that shit. So I've been coming down here for some years, you feel me?
You seen the eras and you seen
Yeah, I got a chance to like, I was down here for All-Star Weekend in '02, you know what I mean? I think that was '02 or '03. I was down here for that. So I've been down here for some shit.
No, that's
a fact.
You got to see the BMF facade?
Yeah, but I didn't see BMF down here. I seen BMF in Miami. Like I was at that party that me Chad, I think it was his birthday party. But they had the tiger and all that shit. And yeah.
You was at that party?
Yeah. I was there.
The party.
I was there with Freeway, because Freeway was working on his album and shit in Miami. That's my first time ever going to Miami.
That's all.
And I always remember being at that party because Big Meech was at the bar. It was me, Freeway, my man Ryan Press, Rasul Butler, rest in peace. He used to play for the Miami Heat. He's from Philly though, and a few other Philly people. And Big Meech was like, he's like, yo, I don't want nobody around me sober. He was just passing out bottles of Cristal. Passed me a bottle of Cristal. I was 22. I got drunk as a motherfucker that night. You know what I mean? But it was a moment.
No, that's lit.
Yeah.
Did you ever think it'll be a point in time that you'll be living here in a working career environment?
Hell no. I never thought I'd be living in Atlanta, man. I mean, what's crazy was like growing up as a kid, I just knew the hood. Like I'm born in the Bronx, you know what I mean? I was born and raised in the Bronx. I moved to Harlem when I was like 13, but I spent a lot of time going to Harlem because my grandfather lived in Harlem. But like I just thought the hood, you know what I mean? And then, the first place I saw myself moving to was Jersey, and then I accomplished that. I moved to Jersey, and then I wanted to move to LA, and then I was kind of like, I don't really want to move to LA. But then I never really thought about Atlanta, you know what I mean? But shit, stars align. I'm here.
Now we here.
Yeah.
Big QC A&R boss, man. Congratulations on the new position.
Thank you.
So let's take it back from the top real quick before we dive into it. What was life like in New York back then? Coming up.
At what point? As a kid or as coming up in the music?
Let's say as a kid. Let's take it from the beginning. Growing up in the Bronx.
Oh, as a kid, I say, man, it was fun. I mean, we was poor. I didn't know that we was poor. You know what I mean? Like my mom, she'd do any job to take care of us. And I lived with my mom and my grandmother. My grandmother was a nurse. She used to work overnight. But we lived in the Bronx up on 228th Street. You know what I mean? Poverty like anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we lived in a place that's considered a little bit better what people think is, but it's really not. And then, my mom never let me feel that we didn't have. But now that I'm becoming an adult, I'm like, we ain't really have nothing. And so it was me for 10 years, just me and my mom and my grandmother, and then she had my little sister when I was 10 years old. And we moved to the other side of the Bronx. We moved around, you know what I mean, for some years or whatever. But I say, man, my childhood was pretty cool. I think childhoods are overrated though, to an extent.
What do you mean by overrated?
You know how people be like, oh, you gotta have a childhood. I really wish I would have took like school serious or just different things serious, so that later on in my life, like when I got into my 20s, like I wish I would have knew about like business and all of that when I was in my 20s, as opposed to learning in my late 20s going into my 30s. And you gotta sacrifice a lot of your childhood, like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't regret going to parties and all of that, but I'd be like, damn, like, what do I have from that as a kid? You know what I mean? But it was cool. We moved from Harlem and then we moved to Maryland for a year. I hated that. You know what I'm saying?
You hated Maryland?
Yeah, I hated Maryland, bro. Because it was like, being a new kid in school, you know what I mean? Like,
Everybody want to check your temperature.
Yo, everybody want to check your temperature. Nobody like me. I had one friend my whole school year, bro. I don't even know where he at right now. I wish I knew where he was at. But I had one friend, and that shit was, you know, we know what depression and all that shit is now. I was depressed as a kid because I couldn't talk to my friends. I was 3 hours away from them. I would go back to New York. I couldn't stay with my dad. You know what I mean? So Maryland was tough, and then we moved back to New York. We moved to the Bronx, but we was in the shelter system at that time. That was another tough ass year. I had some tough years back to back. But after that, we moved to Harlem, and, you know, I mean, things got a little bit better because we had our own crib outside of the shelter, but, like, it got a little bit bad because when I moved to Harlem, it was during the whole, like, crack was still a big thing, and it was also, like, gang epidemic. It was, like, blood and Crip shit really, really hit New York in 96. I'll say it hit the streets of New York crazy, like, 96, and that's when I moved to Harlem. So it was a little difficult.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
I know you said you dropped out in the 9th grade.
Yeah.
How hard was that for you and your family, like, to process that? Because, you know, you saying, coming up in New York, you see a lot of successful people, and they give you their success stories. I went to school, I did that in the 3rd, but you took a different alternative. Did you ever feel like, this is the end for me?
Yeah, it was the worst decision I ever made in my life. Like, bro, like, it's so many people that I meet, and they be like, people always ask me what college I went to or what school I went to. I didn't go to school, you know what I mean? They be like, for real, they don't believe it because of how well spoken I am.
Facts.
But it was a tough decision, man. I mean, the reason why I dropped out of high school, it wasn't just me dropping out. What happened was, so from 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th, 8th, 9th, I lived in 5 different places and went to 5 different schools. Around the time when you in middle school, you kind of get your core friends that y'all meet in 6th grade.
Elementary years.
Yeah, by 8th grade, you like, yo, we about to go to this high school. And then that kind of develops into high school and the college. I didn't have that because I was in different places. So after my first year of high school, that was the first time I ever got left back in my life. But I felt like I had too much responsibility. Like being able to make the decision, I mean, I didn't have the responsibility. I was supposed to go to class, but you could walk out the door if you want to. In elementary school, not elementary, but in middle school, you can't really wiggle like that, you know what I mean? So I just started, you know, making the bad decisions of, you know, leaving school early. I was, rest in peace, Jerry Springer. I used to cut school to go watch Jerry Springer, bro. You know what I mean? But I would be at school, and then I started hanging with, the, you know, some of the wrong crowds. And then after my first year, they like, all right, well, maybe this year he could get to 10th grade. By the time I was in supposed to be my sophomore year, going to my junior, they was like, I'm about to get left back again. So what happened was I went to a trade school. Man, that was horrible because I went there for carpentry. It took me a week to find out I wasn't a carpenter. You know what I mean? And then after that, I went for welding, right? Man, that welding shit was terrifying, bro. They put me in this little ass dark room. You can't see shit when that shit's over your face.
Yeah.
I put that spark on there, bro. I thought I was gonna set myself on fire. Yo, I left out the room. I told my teacher, like, yo, I can't do this. I said, I need to change my trade. He like, you can't change your trade for, I said, put me in air conditioning. He's like, you can't change your trade for another 2 months. So that's when I really, really started cutting, because the first half of my day, I was supposed to be in trade school, and the second half was high school. I just started going to high school during the day and just cutting, going to gym, going to lunch, playing cards, going to people's gym, playing basketball and shit. And so the guidance counselor, I'm saying that to say the guidance counselor had told my mom, like, yo, listen, if he's gonna get kicked out at this point, if he gets kicked out of school, he can't reapply for any other schools. So if your only alternative is if you drop out of school, like if you discharge yourself, however the process was, at least you can apply for alternative high schools, and if he gets his shit together, he can go to another high school. Did that, man, went to alternative high school, some shit in the projects and Taft projects in Harlem. That shit ain't work out, bro. I just was making a lot of bad decisions at the time, but I also was trying to figure out myself as a person. I didn't have the best household, you know what I mean? Not to put too much of my business out there, but my mom and the person that she was with, like the guy that she was with, you know, at that time, like, he didn't give me and my sister no love, you know what I mean? And like, my dad was up in the Bronx, but if you live in somewhere and you don't have like a household, even if you got a stepdad and your stepdad ain't giving you no love, and you looking for, you know what I mean? Like, I was looking for a man to embrace me. So I started turning to the streets. I started gang banging, you know what I mean? I started being around people who were selling drugs. I eventually started getting into that side of life too. And my mom was gonna send me to South Carolina to live with my aunt because I was just out of control. But, you know, I didn't really think too far into it. You know what I mean? I didn't even have that type of mindset. I was just a kid. When I went to school, bro, I couldn't even understand what they were saying. Like, I was dealing with so much in my household, and then by the time I walked outside, bro, it's crazy. It's fiends, it's people dying, it's all types of shit. And I got to get on the train, and then, you know what I mean? Then I got to go to school, and then come, and I got to do work. Like, a person can't even do that with a job, let alone a kid be a student, you know what I mean? So it was pretty difficult, but, you know, things worked out in the end.
No, I feel you. I know earlier you said you feel a childhood is overrated, but hearing your story, you probably feel like that because you didn't really have one. You know what I mean?
I mean, I did. I can't say I didn't have a childhood, because I did have a childhood, man. I used to, so one of the things that I did to try to stay out of trouble was, it was this group of dudes in Harlem called the Biker Boys, right? And they rode racing bikes and shit. And I was like, damn, I want to be a biker boy. So it's my man Will. He actually, like, he's a bodyguard now, but he's a bodyguard for, like, he do Weekend, Nicki Minaj, everybody. But, you know, he was like the head of the Biker Boys. I wanted to be down with them because I seen like they was riding bikes and shit. It was kind of staying out of trouble. But the thing about being on a bike is, like, being in Harlem, that shit take you everywhere. Like, that was my form of transportation.
Yeah.
So it was easy for me to get in the shit,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But, you know, I did have a childhood, and I do appreciate the childhood I had. I just wish that, you know, maybe the childhood overrated thing is not the right thing. Maybe, you know, and my mom did a lot to take care of me and my sister. My mom was super prevalent in our life, but it's hard being a mother who's a single parent and, you know, taking care of 2 kids and got to work 8 hours and then got to still make sure that we on top of our shit.
And you the oldest, so it makes
And I'm
it
the
hard to
oldest.
focus.
My little sister, she way smarter than me. Like, academically,
Yeah.
she fucking slow, but way smarter than me. I love you, TT. But my little sister, you know, she didn't give my mother half the problems I gave her. You know what I mean? But I just wish I would have had like more people in my corner that could have steered me the right way. And I did have some of those people. You know what I mean? That I credit for my neighborhood, like Uncle Gene, my man Mark. It's a lot of older guys, like my man Cat. Even the people who did wrong, you know what I mean? It's dudes that I was around when I was a kid. They end up going to prison for 10, 15 years. And, you know, I was able to see them as an example of what not to do in certain instances. You know?
Thanks. Yeah. So looking back now, how much is a blessing to know, like, yo, I really made it. I turned my life around.
Well, I don't believe I don't believe in making it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to downplay anybody who wants to make it. What I mean by making it is like, when you have a goal and you accomplish the goal, once you get over that hump, when you get over that hump, you like, oh shit, like, and if you don't have any other goals, then you're just gonna be stuck. So that's why I don't apply the whole making it thing, because my only goal at one point in my life was to move out the hood. I moved out the hood when I was 33. And when I moved out the hood, I was like, oh shit, like.
It's more to life out here.
But I was like, what the fuck am I gonna do?
Right.
Like, it's like the video game you've been playing your whole life that you
Yeah.
finally beat. And it's like, I finally beat it. What the fuck am I gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
where's the sequel? So I had to find a sequel. You know what I mean? So I had to find other things to be ambitious about. I had to find other things for me to do. And, you know, you said, was it worth it as far as, what was the second part to the question you had said?
Would you say, like, looking back on it, would you say, like, damn, I made it, and I made it out? It's worth
Well,
being-
I made it from a certain degree, but at the same time, it's like everybody can't go. I want, you know, some people, a lot of people that I grew up with to have similar mindsets so that they could do, because it's not about you. It's about, like, when you become a parent, bro, none of this shit is about you. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's people that I know that's still in certain positions, and I'm not trying to save the world. That's not what I was put here to do, but I'm trying to change it with individuals. So if I could change one person, if I could help a person
solid.
change their world, then I've changed the world. So that's how I kind of apply my mindset and shit. You feel me? So I still got work to do.
No, that's solid.
Yeah.
I know growing up, you were interested in video games and shoes, right? Mm-hmm. What would you say was the first pair of shoes that you got, and what video game made you set in and lock in on video games?
Oh, that's easy. First pair of shoes, sneakers, right? Jordan 6s, infrared, you know what I mean? Black and
Favorites.
infrared. That was my first pair of sneakers I got in 91. I was in the 3rd grade, you know what I'm saying, going towards the 4th. And it was the reason why that sneaker is so significant to me, because that's when I first really started getting into basketball. Like 1990, I was watching basketball, but then like I wanted to play basketball when I got to the 3rd grade. So like the Jordan infrared 6s, and I say the first video game, it was Street Fighter 2. Bro, I got in so much trouble because of no, it's not even funny, bro. Like, if I would have known today, 20-something, 30 years later, that I could have made money from playing video games.
That's what I was just getting ready to ask
What,
you.
playing video games and being a sneaker collector, I wouldn't have never gotten into music. That's how much I was, bro, I used to get my ass beat for playing video games because the place where I used to go play Street Fighter was a dope spot. I ain't know it was a dope spot. My mother used to tell me like, yo, if I'm not in there with you, I don't want you in there. And whatever, like, you know what I mean? I used to steal my mother food stamps to go, because food stamps is paper.
Yeah.
You could spend a quarter, get a bag of chips. You got 75 cents left. That's 2 quarters to play and a quarter for a continue. I'd be on Street Fighter all day to the point where niggas used to bet on me to other people, like, you can't beat this kid. And I didn't get no money from it. I just be like, just keep putting quarters in there for me. So it was one time, bro, I kid you not. My mom, I came from school. She wasn't home. I think my grandma, because remember I told my grandmother worked overnight, you know what I'm saying? I think my grandmother had worked overnight. So I had came home, I had got some quarters, I went to the video game spot, and I ain't tell nobody. Man, everybody was looking for me. My mom, by the time my mom finally found me, she whooped my ass 3 blocks from White Plains Road down to Carpenter to the middle of the block. She ripped my ass straight up for being in there. Cause I was going, bro. I can't imagine, bro. I got out of school maybe 3 o'clock. She found me in there like 8. I was in there like 5 hours. Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. When Mortal Kombat came out, I was the nigga that knew every single fatality, I was ODing, bro, straight up.
Nah, for real.
Yeah.
So when would you say your musical attributes started coming into play?
Well, I always liked music from the time I was a kid. You know, the most distinctive memory I have of like music is Run DMC Walk This Way with Aerosmith. Right? I remember like seeing that and it's like, wow, right? And then Push It by Salt and Pepper, Public Enemy, Fight the Power. Like a lot of movies had like music in them, so like Do the Right Thing. I think Fight the Power was the single. But I was watching, we ain't have cable. I think I got cable in like the 4th grade. And when first time I seen Rap City, oh my God, bro. When I seen Rap City, and this is before Big Tigger, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is Joe Clair and Big Les. Big Les is, if anybody ever watched Living Single, that show with Queen Latifah, the girl that's dancing in the background, she was a host on Rap City, you know what I mean? So watching her, watching these people, watching Fab Five Freddy on Yo MTV Raps, like being at my friend's crib, seeing Juice for the first time. When I seen Juice, and I seen Q, the DJ, and he was DJ, I was like, I want to be a DJ. But, you know, I grew up, you know, in the hood, shit. I remember I seen Rich Homie Quan say this shit. Rich Homie Quan was saying how, like, a lot of people ain't got shit, and the only thing they might have is the radio. So he was saying about, like, why he emphasized so much on making radio records in the beginning of his career, because he was like, yo, like, motherfucker might not got a couple dollars to spend for membership on Tidal or whatever, but they got that motherfucking radio, and that's what he had. So the radio was such a big thing, like Wendy Williams being on Kiss FM. Kiss FM was a hip hop station, and then when Hot 97 came about, like just listening to music, being outside as a kid, playing in the summer, cars driving up and down the street playing music, like I didn't want to be in music, but I liked music. I wanted to be in music by the time I was around like 17. Mm-hmm.
So now we at 17, right? Mm-hmm. How do we get into the mailroom of Roc-A-Fella?
Woo. Well, before that, real quick.
Fill me in the gaps,
when
man.
When I moved to Harlem, the thing about Harlem, bro, is like Harlem was like the place to be in the 90s. So like, I would see I would see the Locks. I would see Jadakiss. I seen Mace. I don't know what Mace mean to nobody else, but when I tell you, bro, seeing Mace in real life as a kid is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm talking about I'm 13, 14 years old. The nigga that's in the More Money, More Problems video is walking down the street and I could see him. You know what I mean? Seeing Cameron and them, and this is before they was calling themselves Dipset. You know what I mean? Like seeing Cardan and Harlem World and Sugar J and DMX, bro. It was when DMX dropped It's Dark and Hell Is Hot, he was in Harlem every single day. So I used to see these people, and I used to be like, damn, like they driving them cars. You might see like one of your favorite rappers with a bad chick. Oh, they got the girl. Oh, so I gotta get in music. You know what I mean? They got the Jordans before they come out.
That's what niggas doing.
This is what I gotta do, cause I was looking at. I grew up in my neighborhood like looking at drug dealers initially. You know what I mean? Cause a lot of like in Harlem, bro, everybody sells drugs. You know what I mean? Like it's to the point where you ain't gotta be a street nigga to sell drugs in Harlem. You know what I mean? Like everybody, because drugs go, it's just that's the type of town it is. And when it was like, all right, how can I make money without taking risk? It was like, maybe I could get into music. So the way I got into the mail, remember I told you I had dropped out of high school and all of that, but my mom had told me, it was at to the point where she would come home from work every day and I wasn't doing nothing, and she just was like, yo, listen, like, I can't work 8 hours of a day and come home and you ain't did nothing with yourself. Like, you not even doing anything. Like, you ain't even trying to play sports. You ain't got a job. You need to get a job if you're gonna live here. And I also don't subscribe to, you know, and this is no slight to my mom, but like, I think that whole mindset of, oh, you 18, you need to get out. My mom didn't do that to me, but that you 18, you need to get out of my house because you grown, that's bullshit. Ain't no way possible from the time you was 10 years old to 8 more years later, you've mastered enough shit to go live on your own. You're still a fucking kid.
Facts.
You feel me? So I think, you know, just as our people, we got to get out of that mindset.
I would say black people got to learn that for sure.
Yeah, but sidebar from that, I mean, that was just a sidebar, but I used to work summer youth and stuff. So like, you know, in New York, like in Atlanta, kids could get jobs at 13, 14, depending on the place. In New York, like you can get your working papers at 14, you gotta get it from your school, and your school has to authorize that you can have a job. You can't just work in a place. But I was working like little jobs during the summertime, making little money or whatever. And my mom, her job title, she worked at a nonprofit organization where she prepared people for the workforce that dropped out of school. So what better subject than your fucking son who dropped out of school?
Fact.
You know what I'm saying? So my mom had you know, talked to somebody, and they got me an interview, and I learned how to conduct myself in an interview, shake somebody's hand, look them eye to eye. When you speak to them, speak confidently when you're doing a job interview. All the things that people don't probably care about now. But like, you know, at this time, this was really important. So after I did all of that, you know, I get the job in the mailroom. I had like 2 interviews. I get the job in the mailroom, and it was a couple locations, like 3 locations. One of them was fucking some random place. Another place was the place I was at, and the third place was the World Trade Center. And this is before 2001, September 11th. You feel me? So thank God I didn't end up there.
Right.
But what ended up happening was, you know, I got into the mailroom, and when I got there, I still didn't know nothing about music, specifically as far as like working or how to do it or nothing. And I just was being trained by this dude named Pat, and we're walking around and we passing by. He's like, yo, this is the royalty department. It was a Universal building. So he's like, yo, this is the royalty department, and you got this and that and the third. And then I walk around this one corner and I see like the whole, it's all these pictures of Ja Rule and I was like, what? So I was confused because I was like, why? I just was like, why the fuck is there pictures of Ja Rule in here? Why do the doors say Irv Gotti on it? Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, well, what is this? I'm asking him, what's this? He's like, this is with Irv Gotti office. And I'm like, Murder Inc. I was like, they be in here? He's like, yeah, they be in here. I was like, you lying? Like, he's like, nah, they really be in here. So I'm like, all right, whatever. And then, you know, a couple weeks go by, walking around on the floor, you see a fucking Ja Rule, or you see Irv Gotti, then I'm seeing, and Def Jam was in there as well, so I'm seeing Foxy Brown, seeing Ludacris when he first came there, seeing Jay-Z, seeing DMX, and everybody you could think of from that time, what they call the golden era, was walking through that building, passing through or coming to have a meeting. So, you know, I gotta give it up to my homegirl, Omieli McIntosh. She ran Jay-Z's fan club, and after, I would work, I would, you know, ask her, like, could I help her with anything? And I was the youngest person in the mailroom, so I think they was a little bit more receptive to me because I was a kid. I was 17 at the time. And they was like, yeah, you know, so I did that, you know, for a bit, and I ended up getting fired from the mailroom. You know what I mean? And then that
How'd you get fired, though?
I got fired because Pat, the same dude who trained me, it was a box with all these contracts in it, you know what I mean? And the box was left in the freight area because he took the box from Def Jam and he brought it to the royalty department, or that floor. I was supposed to deliver it to somebody at the royalty department, and whatever's left in the freight overnight gets thrown out. So
all the contracts got thrown
all that shit got thrown out, and it was just like, oh, him and Wayne, and like I got fired, you know what I mean? But it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? Like it was a stepping stone.
Lesson learned.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So after we get fired from Def Jam, were you devastated? What was next for you?
Man, after I get fired from Def Jam, I just, I wasn't doing nothing. I remember I got fired, and my girlfriend at the time, she just told, I would never forget, bro. She just said some shit to me like how unattractive it was because I didn't have a job. It was something like that. Like she was like, yo, what are you doing? Well, she was in college and shit, so I get it now, but she was a forward thinking in the space of like, you should be doing something with yourself. I wasn't thinking like that. You know, I live with my mom rent free. You know what I mean? So I wasn't really, but I was back in the hood. I wasn't doing shit, and then it was a sneaker store that I used to always buy my Jordans from and shit. And this dude, I just asked him like, yo, I need a job. Could I work there? He was like, yeah. So I couldn't work in the sneaker store, but he had me on the lotto machine, doing the numbers on the lotto machine or whatever. So I did that for like, damn, how long I did that? I did that for like a few months, like maybe 4 or 5 months. And then it was one day, bro, there was some movie shit. Like I swear, like, you know in the sneaker store, how they got the mirrors that like when you stand in there, you can see the sneakers. Like one day I came in.
The bench and shit like that,
So one day like I came in and like he really didn't have nothing for me to do. So he's like, man, clean the mirrors in here. Cause yo, bro, I ain't gonna lie, I really love this dude. Like, not like that, but like, when you know how Jordans come out now, right? Jordans ain't used to sell out back then because $150 was a lot of money for sneakers. Like, people couldn't really afford it. People was putting sneakers on layaway. So he would call me. He used to call my house and be like, hey, call my mom and be like, hey, I got a pair of Jordans here for Wayne. Just let him know if he want to put some money down. He was a guy in the community, but when I fucking got to know this guy, he was a dickhead. He was mad racist, all that shit. So one day he tells me, I come into work, he tell me like, yo, clean up or something. Bro, I get down on the floor, pause, on my knees, and I got the Windex in one hand and a paper towel, and I look at myself in the mirror, bro, and I was like, nah. I put that shit down, walked out, and I walked out, I called my homegirl, Shari. She's the president of Roc Nation right now, but she was an assistant at Roc-A-Fella. I called, I said, well, Shari, can I come to the office? Like, I'll do anything, I don't care what it is I gotta do. I'll help, I'll sweep up, it don't matter. Like, and she was like, all right, just come by. Mind you, Shari like a year or two younger than me, you know what I mean? Shari, I mean to put your age out there. But, you know, she's like, come by, and then that's how I got my internship.
No, that's real. What did it mean to be interning at Roc-A-Fella Records at this time?
Man, so I know that you got a young crowd that watches this platform. I say for a young kid to understand that, imagine you see Drake all the time, right? Well, you as a fan, you on his Instagram, you you listen to his music, you buy his clothes, whatever the case may be. You've been to a show, and then you working at OVO. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only way I could equate it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jay-Z at this time was like the biggest rapper, East Coast, West Coast, down south, whatever you want to call it. I mean, he was doing music with everybody, but he was my favorite rapper, and he was the biggest rapper. So to be there at that time, it was cool. You know, my perception of what I thought I was gonna be doing was different. Like, I thought that I was immediately gonna be doing some music shit. It wasn't like that. I didn't even know what an intern was. You know, I didn't go to school, so internships wasn't even a thing I never even heard that word until the music industry. You know, so I mean, when I finally got in, it was special. You know what I mean? It was really, really special. I mean, at this time, Jay-Z's just coming off of doing the Blueprint. Kanye just produced the whole shit for him. He's the hottest producer. Just Blaze is the hottest producer. They kind of got the sound of what, not just New York, but like shit. From there, you get T.I. getting on Kanye beats. You get everybody in the world getting on Kanye beats. So I'm around these people. I'm around these individuals. Beanie Siegel, they just dropped the State Property movie, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm at the premiere, like, you know what I mean? I'm around these guys.
You was
now,
working on State Property 2 and shit like that too, right?
I worked on the State Property 2 album, you know what I mean? That was the first album I ever A&R, but now I'm working with the young guns, you know what I mean? At the time, we're all the same age, so like, they're a year younger than me, so I'm 19. I met Chris when I was 18. When I was 18, he's 17. Neef, he's 17, you know what I mean? Out of all of that, I got one of my best friends, my man Payne, who was like, he grew up with Chris and Neef, but that's my brother, like, you know what I mean? So shit is just happening. Dipset happens through this, you know what I mean? Cam comes to Roc-A-Fella, Dipset happens. It was like a dream, you know what I mean? Like, when I got to Roc-A-Fella, it's like when Jay first starts dating Beyonce, so I'm seeing Beyonce all the time. Like, the shit was a dream, bro. It's like, there's no real way I could sum it up to say what it really was, other than I think back and just be like, wow.
No, that's
you know
real.
I'm saying? Like, wow. I mean, it was a moment.
No, that's real.
Yeah.
I know in our day and age, it's a big disconnect when it comes to that internship shit, right?
Yeah.
Where do you feel the disconnect came from? Because the older generation are just willing to be like, look, you got to be willing to do whatever, whenever, at any time. And the younger generation is more so, where the money? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they're not doing nothing unless they're being compensated. Like, where do you feel? I mean, it's a silver lining between it, but where would you say?
I think you kind of answered it, but the thing was, I think because it wasn't that I wasn't getting paid. I was getting paid, but I wasn't getting paid nothing. I was getting paid $100 a week when I was an intern at Roc-A-Fella. Literally $100 a week, and then that went from $100 a week to when I got hired, technically, because I was never hired through Universal. I was hired to Roc-A-Fella, but then I got $200 a week and then a free cell phone and a free two-way pager. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I wanted more money. I was like, yo, bro, like, mind you, at this time, like, I'm not just working. I'm doing all types of dumb shit. I'm risking my freedom being at Roc-A-Fella because to me, it's the law of the land. Like, you know what I mean? I'm rocking with these dudes. They beefing with people. They carrying hammers. I'm carrying hammers for them, or I'm carrying hammers with them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a kid though. And one thing I've never really said this, but I got to give it to my man Big Face Gary, because when I was that young, he pulled me to the side and was like, yo, listen, bro, you get locked up for carrying a gun, we ain't doing nothing for you. It's not this ain't the streets. This is a business. So you think that you friends with these niggas and they gonna do something for you if you get caught with one of them guns, you going to jail. You gonna call your mother. Don't call us. Don't call them. Call your mother. And that kind of shaped me up a bit. But what I say is like, you know, see, for me, I thought that I was gonna get rich immediately from working in music, so I was willing to do anything because I'm like, I wanna get out the hood. At this time, I didn't have no kids, so I wanted to get my moms out the hood. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna do anything and everything to do this shit. So I was willing to risk my life. I was willing to risk my freedom because I believed in what they believed in, which this shit, I thought that meant the world,
right?
Which it did at that time, but it was just a business. You feel me? So the thing I have with these kids today is like, I think kids have more information, so they go after things a little bit differently, which I didn't have the information. I didn't know that I was doing a $60,000 a year job for $200 a week. That shit is pimping at its finest, you feel me? But I think with these kids, I don't knock the youth because I've been there. I know how they feel. I know when a motherfucker's misusing you. A motherfucker could use you, but don't misuse you. I know what it feels like to be misused. I just feel like there's not enough hunger because we reward people for nothing nowadays. The word content creator, you know what I'm saying? Like a motherfucker could sit in their bathroom and flex or shake their ass or pick their nose or knock their fucking teeth out and make $1,000 doing videos in a month. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so people look at it like, why the fuck would I work for you when I could just work on my own time? And I think we reward lackluster behavior. We reward, you know, lackluster product. People don't spend as much time as they should on things. Again, I'm not knocking the youth, but I hope that they start seeing more down the line. You feel me? Because the relationship is worth more than a check a lot of times. Bro, the money I made, all the money in its entirety that I made at Roc-A-Fella, I could fucking sneeze and I could spit on the floor and make that money today. But the relationships I've had over the past 20 years that have benefited me from, because all of those people that I was at, they went to different labels. Some went to Atlantic, some went to Sony, Def Jam, and I got a good name with all these people. And if I got a new artist and I want to bring it over and I could potentially get this artist signed, which could put some money in my pocket and my family's mouth, I could do that. But I could call these people because I wasn't the nigga saying, man, y'all got me doing this shit and I ain't making no money. I'm gonna go do something else. You know what I'm saying? So it just depends on what's most important to you.
Nah,
money is most important to some people. That's not the most important thing to me in life. I get it, but that ain't the most important thing to me in life. You feel me?
What would you say is the most important thing in life?
Being able to, I mean, it kind of ties back to money that I think about it, but being able to provide for my family, man. I think that, like, you know, everything I love I had when I didn't have no money. So all the things, and I'm not one of those people who think, because everybody heard, oh, well, what goes up comes down. It doesn't work like that all the time. Everybody who becomes successful doesn't have to fall on their face. But I do believe that, like, you know, what's most important to me is my family. You know what I mean? My peace of mind. My peace of mind more than anything, bro, because I don't give a fuck how much money. Motherfuckers be trying to pay me to do a lot of shit. I be like, I ain't doing that, because it's gonna fuck with my mental. I ain't doing that. No amount of money is worth your mental health. Feel me?
No, that's some real shit.
That's a fact.
So after the internship, what's next?
Regular jobs. Well, not the internship. I had a job at Roc-A-Fella, so I was there for, you know.
Oh yeah, you did get appointed to assistant A&R,
Yeah, I was
right?
assistant A&R. So I worked on state property. I worked on the Young Guns. I worked with Beanie Siegel. I worked with Owen Sparks.
You was Beanie Siegel's roommates, wasn't it?
We wasn't roommates. We wasn't roommates, bro. Like. I mean, he's a grown-ass man. Like, what happened was he was on house arrest because he had this federal gun charge and he had an attempted murder. So the courts was like, he got to sit in the house. So, you know, at that time, he just, you know, I wanted to be around him and he wanted me around him. So I lived at his house, like, but he lived in a big, like, we wasn't roommates. He lived in like a six-room house, you know what I mean? I stayed in the basement. You know what I mean? But I learned a lot around that time. I worked with him in Green Lantern. We made a dope mixtape together, Public Enemy #1. I did a lot of groundwork, man. That came, and then once Roc-A-Fella split apart, man, I was back to having a regular job. You know what I mean? So that's also a lesson as well. You know what I mean? People think that what is making it. Some people might have viewed me getting into Roc-A-Fella as making it.
Facts.
That might have been their highest goal. guess what? I was right back where I started, you know what I mean, in the mailroom again. So now I'm a father, I got a kid, you know what I mean, I got one kid. And then I'm in the mailroom, and then I got another kid, and I ain't really making shit. And I'm trying to now I'm done with music, bro. It's one point in time, I started training, because I ain't have no skills. I was training to be an armored truck guard, because that was the only thing that I was looking at where I could have made some money in New York City. You know what I mean? It was like, all right, if you get in the first year, you're not gonna make no money, but after the first year, you can make bread. I ain't have no felonies, and that's one of the main components, and I have no felonies, so you can have a gun. So I tried to do that, you know what I mean? I tried to get, people on Twitter be joking about the CDL. I tried to get my CDL because I was considering being a bus driver. I was like, shit, man, I'd be making way more money than I was making at Roc-A-Fella.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I considered being a bus driver. I tried to get a job for Con Edison, which would be Georgia Power. You know what I mean? Working for the power company. I tried to do that. I tried everything, bro. I tried every fucking thing, but music kept calling me. Feel me?
No, that's real.
Yeah.
How does discourage, talk about, you know, a lot of people see the glitz and the glamour of this shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like you just said, some real shit. Your homie can be driving a CD, got his CDLs and shit, and making way more than you, and you around, like you saying, Jay-Z's and Beyonce's and shit all day. So that can be discouraging at times. So it's almost like you question like if this is the right path for you or not, because it's other successful lanes. But when shit crash down, like you saying, you got to reinvent yourself. So what would you say after taking about being around all these successful people, and then like you saying, training to be a CDL driver and all this? What would you say kept you calling back about the music? Like, you know what, fuck it, I'm finna try it again.
You know what it was, bro? Because, like, it gets to a point where, I hate the term be realistic. Because what the fuck does that mean? Everything that's realistic in our lives wasn't at one point in time. It wasn't a point in time where I could call that phone and you could see me and I could see you. That was the furthest thing from a person's mind. It was the only shit that you seen on television. And now these things come to fruition. So, like, leaving, you know, and I don't want nobody to feel discouraged about there's nothing wrong with having a job, bro. I'm actually, let me tell you this.
There's nothing wrong with having a job.
It's jobs that I never got that I really be dissatisfied with myself that I never got the job.
Like regular 9 to 5s?
Yeah, regular 9 to 5s. It's mad like 9 to 5s that I really wanted, that I really tried to get, that I, like the Con Edison thing, the armored truck thing. Now, I wouldn't do it now, you know what I mean? But but I really, because I put a lot of time in. Like I spent like 2 years doing all of this shit. So like the biggest, what kept calling me back to music was this. I was working in Channel 11, which is a television station. I was working in the mailroom. My mentor, by the name of John Ziegler, he ran the creative services department. I got laid off from the mailroom, and then they brought me back. But when John brought me back, he was like, do you want to be a marketing coordinator? I don't even know what the fuck that meant. I had needed a bachelor's degree. This man put his own position on the line and lied and said I had a bachelor's degree in college for me to get that job. And I got the job. And when I got the job, John is the person who pushed me back into like my music field. He don't even know this. He knew to an extent, but he don't know. He a white dude too I think John's from Alabama or some shit. But John, he used to tell me, he's the second most important man in my life to my dad. He used to instill confidence in me that I didn't have. You know what I mean? Like coming from the hood, especially getting to the height of something like a Roc-A-Fella, and then now you back in the mailroom. I was like, man, I don't even want to, because there was no social media, so I didn't even want to tell people. I'm like, nobody's going to believe me. So I didn't tell people the stories that I had, you know what I mean? But I told him one day, he asked me one time about stuff. So like my first week on the job, he started telling me shit like, yo, bro, like you ain't even going to be here long. And I'm thinking I'm fucking up on the job. He used to be like, you too smart to work here. You like, you too creative, you too smart, you too ambitious. Like, this shit is not for you. You gonna be doing big shit. At the time, the job that he had gave me, my salary was $40,000 a year. It was the most money I had made from a job, you know, plus you gotta factor in, cause you know everybody act like $40,000 ain't no fucking money.
Yeah.
But I'm living in the projects. I got 2 kids.
You was
know what I'm
up.
saying? I was up.
40 racks in the hood, you up.
What? You know what I'm saying? After taxes, I was coming home with
telling you.
$2,200 a month.
Bro,
after
you
taxes.
up.
But the thing was, it was like, he was telling me like, yo, you're not gonna be, cause I had started a clothing line back then. I had started a streetwear line and shit. And he was like, yo, listen, utilize all the things we got here. We got cameras. Tell these dudes to shoot your pictures for your photo shoots. We got this, use that. He was just telling me do this, that, and the third, and he was instilling confidence in me. And I didn't know it was confidence necessarily. I just was like, why the fuck why this white dude fuck with me like that? You know what I mean? But anyway, I just used to be sitting at that desk. And I used to be, there's a fire burning in me. And I used to be like, man, I know I can still do this shit. And now I'm seeing, cause I met Meek Mill when he was 16 years old. I was 21. And now this is 2010. I'm 27. Meek is 2011. Meek is becoming a thing. And I'm like, oh shit. If I would have had a position, I would have signed him. Because when I met him, he had the fucking streets in a frenzy. You know what I'm saying? So and I met him years ago. So I'm seeing him. I'm seeing like other artists, Vado. You know what I mean? Like Vado, Jay Mills. Like Jay Mills now he done signed to. I mean Jay Mills he always had a name. You know what I mean? From battling people and all that. But now I'm seeing him.
Signed to Wayne.
Wayne and shit. Yeah. And these is people. These is my. Now I'm seeing not just the artists that I didn't know, but I'm seeing people who that excuse me. I'm seeing people that I'm meeting along my journey. Fucking Smoke DZA, who is you know, Johnny Shipes, who had Joey Badass. He had Nipsey Hussle first. I'm in Johnny Shipes' crib. This might be 2008. This dude, Nipsey, walks in the fucking room. Hey, what up, cuz? I thought it was so funny because he said cut after every sentence. He always say cut. But I meet Nipsey there. You know what I'm saying? I'm seeing all these people. I'm like, yo, I gotta get in this shit again. And then one of my best friends, Buddha the Future, he's a producer from the Bronx. We met through another producer named Amadeus who was doing beats for a lot of people. But he linked us through MySpace. And then he was like, yo, y'all should meet each other. This is why I'm still in the mailroom. In Channel 11. This is before I get the marketing coordinator job. And I know Buddha for a few years. My mentor, John, I had told you about, he told me like, yo, listen, I'm just letting you know, this is going into 2012. It's 2011 going into 2012. He like, yo, listen, if you can find something else, start finding something else because they about to lay a lot of people off and you're going to be one of them. I'm just telling you because I love you. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, bet. Start getting my shit together. I'm like, yo, so Buddha comes to me and Buddha's like, yo, I want you to manage me. I'm like, manage you? And he like, yeah. And I'm like, I don't know how to manage nobody. He like, I know you could do better than the nigga that's managed me now. You know what I mean? Even if you don't know nothing. Because I had the skills of working with young Chris. I was working with young Chris after all that Roc-A-Fella shit. You know, still linking him with shit, whatever. But that didn't work out for us.
I worked out on plenty tapes and shit like
that.
Yeah,
the Network 3, you know what I mean? All those different tapes. I was, you know, he was getting a lot. He was doing the lion's share doing the music, but I was helping him out with shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, yo, fuck it. I start managing Buddha. I get laid off. I'm just finding ways that, you know, busting whatever moves I can, making money. You know what I mean? I'm doing whatever I can. And then through this, I start hosting shows at SOBs. So you been at New York before?
Yeah, I've been up there, but I ain't been to SOBs.
So you know what SOBs is, though?
Yeah, I know what SOBs is.
So SOBs, right? One day I was just like backstage at a show, and I'm just talking, same way I'm talking right now. And I used to be on Twitter heavy, like just talking shit. As a kid. Twitter came out, I was 26 years old. So I was on there talking shit. So some dude was talking, I'm talking, and some dude asked me, he said, yo, what's your Twitter? I tell him my Twitter, he looking at it. He like, yo, you wanna host shows here? And I'm like, host shows at SOBs? He like, yeah. I was like, why? He was like, you got a personality. I was like, I ain't got no personality. He like, yeah, you do. He like, I'll pay you to host shows. And I was like, how much? He's like, on a bad night, maybe $50, $75. On a good night, $150, $200. Bet. They do 2-3 shows a week. Bet. Start doing that. Doing that. One day, I'm hosting a show, some new Harlem showcases, some shit. Kid goes on the stage, Dave East. You know what I mean? Like, damn, I'm like, now a lot of the other rappers, like I know some of them or whatever, but I didn't know him. A lot of the other rappers, I'm like, damn, he hard. So we started talking after that. This is 2013. Bro, I got cool with Dave for like a year, literally, because I was a brand ambassador for Reebok. I was, like my job was to, like Reebok would send me product and I would seed it, give it to people. You know Amber Grimes? Mm-hmm. The LVRN? Yeah. She was a brand ambassador too. Oh, that's, you know what I mean? So it was all of us ended up doing shit. My man Dre the Mayor, like Dre here, an executive. All of us end up being executives. This is like the second phase of my career. Man, I met Dave, and then like one day, I had all of these horror stories of like, you know, even though I work with Beans, like I ain't gonna say he listened to me. Even though I work with Young Chris, he didn't listen to me. You know, I just was, and Buddha, like we was trying to sell beats. I'm like, yo, if I could just find one artist.
You can lock in with him.
I could lock in.
Yeah.
I could get Buddha's beats off, and I could get the artist popping for all this shit that nobody else listened to me. And I just was like, it's gonna be Dave. You know what I mean? And then I was telling everybody. I told my wife. I told everybody. I'm like, yo, it's this kid I want to work with. Mind you, we had already been building a relationship, and then one day he was down the block from me. I was at my mom's crib, he was down the block. I pulled up on him, and I was like, yo, bro, like, what's up with you? Like, you know, what you doing? He's like, man, I just do, you know, I do a lot of shit myself, I was like, yo, I want to manage you. He was like, you do? And I'm like, yeah. I said, ain't nobody working with you? He's like, nah. I said, I promise. I looked him dead in his eyes, but I said, I promise I'm gonna make you rich. I was still in the projects. I didn't know what the fuck I was gonna do. But I was like, I promise I'm going to make you rich. And he was like, I bet. And then from there, I started managing him.
No, that's real. So what would you say the issue came between you and Dave?
It really was predicated on like, because when I look back at it, we let people get in between us. I think he'd agree. We let people get in between us, and like, you know, we had a real hunger, because when I met him, he was living in the projects in Queens. I was living in the projects in Harlem. You know, my youngest daughter had just been born. She was maybe 2 years old when I met East. You know what I mean? Like 1 going on 2 when I met East. And when I met East, she was 1. I got 3 kids. I'm living I got nigga fucking mice running around every now and then, and bed bugs, roaches. Anybody who live in the projects, don't let them tell you ain't got no fucking roaches.
Oh God,
that's
bro.
a fact. We got roaches. You can kill 100,000 of them shits, they still gonna come back. So I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with, you know what I mean? And then my mom's health. My mom, she had back surgery. I'm trying to help her with that shit, this, that, and the third. Bro, we had a fucking drive like no other. It had been a long time. I'll give credit to, you know, it was one point in time with Troy Ave and Hovain. Rest in peace to my brother Hovain. But it was Troy Ave and Hovain that was in the city, that was like the manager-artist combo. But when I tell you me and East had a drive, bro, that we was like, I said, oh nah, we gonna do some shit nobody else done. And you know, we ain't have, like, I ain't had shit, he ain't had shit. But once we started making shit, like Wyclef, I remember I'll never forget this, bro. Wyclef pulled me and him to the side one time. We was at his crib, because one of my old business partners used to manage Wyclef. Wyclef was like, yo, he like, y'all niggas, and mind you, bro, after I'm leaving Wyclef crib, this nice, crazy mansion, we wasn't even in his house. We was in his house outside of his house. That's how big this nigga house is. Nigga, Wyclef says to me and East, he like, yo, y'all niggas about to make so much money, it's gonna be ridiculous. And I'm like, what you mean? He like, bro, I seen it. He's like, I seen it with Nas and Steve Stout. I seen it with Dame and Jay. I seen it with Chris Lighty and 50 Cent. He like, this shit is like seasons. It's like, the leaves grow, they sprout, and then they get real bright, they fall, and then they grow again. It's y'all time to be the leaves. Y'all about to grow, y'all about to sprout. And we didn't understand it. He like, y'all gonna be making so much money from so many places, y'all not even gonna be able to keep up with it. It's hard for a nigga to hear that when I'm broke. Like, I'm literally leaving from there going to a pissy elevator.
Yeah.
So, you know, that happens, and then, you know, we get the Mass Appeal deal with Nas and all of that. And then, man, I think one of the biggest moments in my career, bro, we was in a club in Miami, and it was me, Nas, and East, and Nas pulled both of us to the side. He put his arm around us, and he was like, man, I'm fans of y'all niggas. And we like, he's still Nas, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he like, we like, what? He like, nah, bro. He like the way, we say, yo, we just doing with the opportunity which you gave us. He said, nah, man, y'all took this shit way further than I thought it was gonna go. And he's like, I just want to tell y'all brothers, like, like Nas is like that. Like, he'll fucking tell you if you doing right, you know what I mean? And if you doing wrong. But he just, for a person I grew up on, to tell me that, and I got an artist that signed to him, you know, the thing that happened was, you know, we started making money. Now I got money, now East got money. You know what I mean? And now I got bread, now East got bread. Now, mind you, you know, I took East to take a shahada to become Muslim. I'm Muslim, you know what I'm saying? So that's a connection that we had that's, you know, it's unbreakable. And we still have that connection to this day, no matter what. I don't see him, he don't see me, we don't talk all the time, but that's still my brother in Islam regardless. But you know, now I'm not around him as much no more, because I don't want to be around as much no more, because, you know, along the way while we going, I got to be around some of the homies and some of this and some of that and shit that I don't want to be around all the time, but I'm still doing the work. But now, you know, some niggas is around and they like, you know, niggas might be saying to him like, man, this nigga don't be around you, like, nah. whatever. And we had just got to a point where what always bothers me with the East situation is that there's so much more that we could have done. We did an amazing amount of work without a hit record. We had no hit record. My man Orlando always says this. He like, yo, how the fuck did you make him the face of New York without a hit record? And, you know, we were on the cusp. And when we split, you know what I mean, the decision, it was mutual, you know what I mean? I don't think, in retrospect, I don't think he liked it. I didn't like it. But at the same time, it was like, things had to happen for them to go how they're going today. So I don't regret it. But the thing that does eat me up is like, damn, we had all these other ideas that we never got to, you know what I mean? But I think that, you know, my ego was in the way. I can say that as a man, you know what I mean? Like, my ego was in the way, and so was his. His ego was in the way. And when you got egos, and now, you know, we not communicating the way we used to because I'm feeling like I ain't got to talk to this nigga, I got bread. And he feeling like I ain't got to talk to this nigga, I got bread too. You know what I'm saying? We never really got a chance to really, like, slug it out and hug it out. You feel me? We never got a chance to really, like, fuck everybody over there, me and you in the room, we going to lock in and we going to say how we feel and we going to come to another, we never got a chance to do that. And there was too many factors in between to permit us to that. But, you know, it ended, but we did it, shit. Man, I'm forever grateful to East because every big check he got, I got. You know what I mean? When I never forget and hit, bro, I don't know if you ever interviewed him, but bro, we was waiting on this money from Def Jam. We was waiting on this money from Def Jam for so long, and I never forget opening up my phone and checking my bank account and seeing all these fucking zeros, bro. I bust out laughing. And my wife is like, what you laughing at? I said, we moving out the hood. And I called him, I called him 10 times, he ain't answer. I kept calling him, he ain't answer. And then he when he finally answered, I said, he's like, what happened, what's good? I seen you call me a bunch of times. He's like, I was asleep. I said, check your bank account. He checked his bank account, he couldn't believe it, bro. Like, we made it, but we ain't, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What we were talking about earlier, that's hard.
Yeah, but, you know, that shit ended.
See, even though after you guys probably had like a falling out or disagreement, but you guys always rekindled that relationship and always kept each other's brothers.
We didn't.
Nah,
we did. Nah, we didn't. I was like, I can be honest and transparent because it's my story and his story too. You know, I wasn't fucking with him and he wasn't fucking with me. You know what I'm saying? It, like, he would go to radio stations. He wouldn't answer no questions about me. He wouldn't say, and I respect him for that, because I wouldn't say nothing about him neither. Like, I remember my first time I did Everyday Struggle, they had like, and this is ACT, you know what I mean? ACT had like 7 Davies questions. And I was like, yo, I'd rather not talk about East. And ACT was like, he said, what, you don't fuck with him or something like that? I said, because you know, ACT like, just,
academics. Yeah.
But I said, nah, I was like, yo, we just, you know, I'm doing my own thing. I don't want to, like, I don't want my interview to be around, or I don't want me being on the show to be about him. And he ain't want, when he was promoting his project, to be about me, because everybody was so used to us being seen with one another. But we weren't talking for a while, but what got us to talk again was, you know, he lost his homeboy Shooter. And I was really regretful that I didn't reach out to East at that time, and I told him this because it was my ego again. And Shooter was, you know, they was close. I was with Shooter a lot. We was on the road together. We did a lot of shit around each other. And he lost Shooter. You know, Shooter got sick and passed away. And then my father died the same year. And when my father died, him and my father had their own little, like, they see each other, they jokes, they talk they shit, you know what I mean? And he DM'd me. Mind you, we had a little DM spat prior to that where we just talking shit to each other, not favorable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he DM'd me, he's like, yo, Wayne, bro, he said, listen, I know what your father meant to you. He like, I know, like, you know what I mean? He said, bro, much love to you and your family. I know that that's a heavy loss, and I just want to give my condolences. And at that point, I took the mad suit off, bro. I was tired of wearing that fucking I'm angry sweatsuit. You know, it was dirty. It was, you know what I mean? I couldn't get into the club with it on. I was just like, man, let me take this shit off. And I say, yo, bro, I miss you. You know what I mean? I just told him, I said, I miss you. I miss you. He said, I miss your presence as well. And then we just started talking again from there. And then, you know, we mended our relationship. You know what I'm saying? We good. Like, we're good. But this is just a chapter within my life, same as it's a chapter for him. You know?
No, that's real. I feel like the most important thing you said, though, was the fact that you valued that, you know what I'm saying? Even though after everything went down, y'all brothers, though, you mad at them, fuck you,
bro,
fuck
we
me,
was
you
in,
know what I'm saying?
Nigga, we was in Urban Plaza together when shit went down.
Yeah.
We all seen what just happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We was in there that night in the room, under the room when shit with bullets flying. Like we done been through some shit together. You know what I'm saying? Like I watched this man become a parent. You know what I'm saying? I watched him become a father. You know what I'm saying? Him, his mom, I've been there for him and he been there for me. It's time, bro. My cousin, I remember one time my little cousin, she got into this bad car accident and they told me that she wasn't going, that she might not live, bro. And I had like a fucking he had an in-store in Harlem. And he pulls up and I'm fucking crying like uncontrollably cause I'm still trying to do the work. He said, nigga, go take your ass to the hospital, go see your cousin. You know what I'm saying? So we've been through some shit. So like the disparity of us, it was ego. That's all it really was. It was just ego. I was like, fuck that nigga. I know him. He was like, fuck that nigga. I don't want to talk to this nigga. So it is what it is. You feel me?
But now we here.
Yeah. It's about life, bro. We got a lot of living to do. We got a lot of living to do, and we ain't gonna be here forever, so we gotta make this shit count every day.
Nah, real spill.
Fact.
How did you land the role on Everyday Struggle?
Oh, man.
Not even the role, the position.
Bro, so when Everyday Struggle came out, I was watching that shit every single day. You know what I'm saying? Like, Joe Budden, you know what I mean, and Ack, because I was watching Ack on YouTube, like his videos of him just talking. And I know Joe, like even from back in the day when I was at Roc-A-Fella, like Joe was signed to Def Jam, so I would see him in passing and shit, but we didn't really know each other. But Twitter is what kind of built me and Joe relationship. You know, we had like a friendship through social media or whatever. And when it ended, like when Joe said he wasn't doing no more, like I never in a million years thought that was gonna be my next thing. Never. You couldn't, fucking gypsy lady could have gave me the crystal ball and said it, I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
Nadeska, who ended up being a friend of mine because she interviewed Dave a few times when she was at MTV. She was on there, you know, they had bruh Star, you know, from Star and Buck Wild. He was a media personality. He was like the first academics for real, talking crazy, saying crazy shit, then got sued a million times, all that. He was on High 97 and Power 105. I'm watching for Star too because I'm a fan of Star, you know what I mean? So it was something that Star had said about Nadeska, and it was some crazy shit. So when he got on the show, he was apologizing about it, and she wasn't trying to hear it. She wasn't going for it, so she was like, it was kind of tension. So I had texted her, like, yo, Desk, like, I'm like, yeah, pop your shit. I'm like, yo, I love it, you know what I mean, the new show or whatever. She texted me like a week later, like, yo, Wayno, my fault, I'm such a bad friend, like, yo, like, what you been up to? Like, yo, you should come on the show and debate with us. And I'm like, for real? She like, yeah. So at the time, my next thing I'm thinking, I got my brand Triangle Offense, and I'm looking for new artists and shit. I'm like, man, let me go plant my flag on this show. I'm gonna wear my hat. I'm about to start selling the hats because people ask me about them. I'm like, let me go do that. I go on the show. Remember I told you the story with the Davey shit or whatever. So we just have a genuine conversation. I don't even remember, bro, I don't remember what we talked about that first episode. I never even watched it. I've never watched one episode of Everyday Struggle since I've done it. And
you don't like to hear yourself, see yourself on camera?
Not for a long time,
Bro,
for a little bit of time. Like for I'm good for like a good 15 minutes, and then I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm the same
But
way.
Ebro told me stop doing, because Ebro told me that shit. He's like, yo, bro, you gotta study yourself so you can know how to get better. But when I did that episode while I was leaving, like Chops, who was the producer, and Nadeska, they was walking out. Chops was like, man, that's the most fun we had since Joe left. Like, all right, whatever. So I leave, I go home. They had sent the car for me. They sent the car for me to go home. I get home that day. Nadeska texts me like, yo, listen, we thinking about, like, you know what I mean, adding somebody else onto the show, and we were thinking like, well, did she tell me that? Or she was just saying, would I come back? I think she asked me would I come back, and I was like, really? Come back for what? So I'm like, all right, cool. Come back. I did another show, and then they were saying, you know, that they was gonna do, what was it? They were saying, then when I started finding out, like, they might be looking for a replacement for Star. You feel me? So, which Star was like, man, a lot of people don't like him, but me and Star was always cool, you know what I mean? Like, I looked at him as like who he was, you know what I mean? And he used to say crazy shit, you know what I mean? But he tried to get me to say some crazy shit for time, but that's Star. But whatever, but Star's a good guy. And there was one day they was like, yo, they want you to audition. Like, I guess whoever's at Complex, they wanted me to audition. I was like, what's the audition? I guess they did a show with Star, and they wanted me to do the same exact show. So they did the show with Star, and then I came in that day, and I did the same exact topics, everything, and then they sent that tape to their higher ups, and then after that they was like, yo, we want to bring him on as a guest, a featured guest. So then it was me, all of us. And then when it was ending, Nadeska had kept it 100 with me, like, yo, listen, like, Joe might come back. You know what I mean? Like, they've been talking to Joe, they trying to fix it or whatever, he might come back. But if he does come back, we want to have it to, you know, like, you could still come back around, be a featured guest, whatever, you know what I mean? But you welcome here. And then Joe had called me. Joe is really funny, bro. Joe Budden is a very, very funny guy because at this time, I didn't understand media at all. I just did the same shit I did with playing, like being in the barbershop. I'm the nigga that's gonna stay 2 hours after I get my cut, talk about basketball, life, whatever. But Joe, he calls me like, yo, I want you to come to my thing called a pull-up. It's at his house. I'm like, all right, cool. So I come to this thing at the pull-up, and Joe pulls me to the side, and he's like, yo, you know, he like, man, I like you on Everyday Struggle, man. Like, yo, that's good for you. I think, he's like, yo, he said, if they offer you the position, you should take it, because I'm about to go do something else. So I'm like, all right, cool. But what I didn't know was, like, in that pull-up that we did, Joe was saying little fly shit about Complex. And I wasn't even saying, putting two and two together, like, this nigga dissing me while I'm right here. like, you know what I mean? Like, this nigga was literally like dissing me while I'm right here, but not necessarily me. He just was like, he said some shit. He was like, yeah, because their numbers are horrible. See, at that time, bro, I didn't know shit about what the numbers meant. I didn't know it was like what 100,000 meant to 150,000 or 1 million to 500,000. I didn't know what none of that shit meant because I wasn't in the YouTube world. I was behind the scenes music nigga, whatever. But Joe didn't do it. I ended up doing it, and the funny thing was, the very, very first episode I did, as the official, now I'm on Everyday Struggle, and I think somebody put my name as Joe Budden when the show came on. Cause you know when the show starts, they put everybody at name. Yeah. They put Joe Budden. I was like, who the fuck? Y'all didn't do that the whole time I was a guest. How the fuck did they do that? You know what I'm saying? But you know, peace to Joe. Piece to act, man, especially in Nadeska, man. I learned so much. Like, I learned a lot from academics, man. Like, in the media space, I learned so much from him. Nadeska, I learned a lot from her as well. You know what I mean? Like, because people, perception-wise, they view Nadeska as she don't do shit. She's the moderator in between the show, which people think she's just moderating. No, she produces the whole show. She the one coming with the topics late night, like, yo, we gonna talk about this tomorrow. What you want to do? You want to, like, curating the whole entire show. So, you know, much love to her. I love Nadeska, that's my homegirl, and I love Act, that's my guy.
No, that's real. Did you ever think that the media world would be like this, what it is for you now? You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people did not know your musical background prior to Everyday Struggle.
Oh no, niggas thought I landed on the earth that day. Yeah. Like people didn't know nothing about, bro, you, man, listen, go ahead, my fault, I ain't mean to cut you off.
You was on topic with it. Like, people did not know your musical background prior to Everyday Struggle. Yeah. So, after Everyday Struggle, I'm pretty sure it's more opportunities and different.
That's how I got the QC.
No, that's real.
That's how I got the QC, bro. I mean, I didn't know I could get paid. So I remember academics saying this shit. Like, he was talking about like Rory and Mal, and he was just saying like, he was going through that shit with them, and he was like, man, he like, well, Wayno, he said, bro, when he first came and started doing Everyday Struggle, cool, but I look up a month or two later, he doing correspondence interviews here, because he was basically saying how Rory and Mal didn't do nothing outside of Joe, but which I don't think is fair. You know what I mean? Because if you building a platform or you a part of a platform like that, you are we putting our time in because we believe in the brand. So I just didn't know I could get paid. So like, getting paid meant like extra sneakers. So I was doing everything. Yeah. Complex is like, yo, we need somebody to do band. I don't give a fuck. What you want me to do? Y'all gonna pay me? I'm doing it. I was doing everything Complex asked me to do. So I was just doing, you know, other shows, like one-offs, all of that shit, and it led me to my Amazon shit, but it also, like I said, it led me to QC. You know, I had met Coach K when I was managing East, because East and Yachty was on the same freshman cover, that infamous cover that people call the best cover ever. Thanks. With Uzi, Savage, all of them. You know what I mean? I met Meezy that day. I met so many people that day, man. Anderson, Pack, everybody. But, you know, when I met Coach, I wasn't even on no trying to work with Coach shit, nothing like that. I just was like, I like Coach, I really admire him. You know what I mean? So I was just trying to like get game from him and shit. But Coach is like, and I say this a few times, Coach is like a fucking, he like a Jedi master from Star Wars, bro. He don't just like, you gotta show him you really wanna learn for him to train you. Like, he not just training anybody, he just not letting anybody get next to him. He real like calculated with how he does things. And you know, but I had his number. You know what I mean? I can't say that. I had Coach's number. But the way I even got the QC was you know, remember when OG Mako and QC was going through the whole split or whatever, OG Mako had said whatever he had said about QC. And I had comment at that time, you know, I'm coming off of being burnt as a manager. So everything I'm saying about an artist dealing with the establishment, I'm shitting on the artist. So I said some shit, you know what I mean, whatever. And P posted it, you know what I mean? And I remember when P posted it, OG Mako had DM me or some shit. He's like, nigga, you better not never come to Atlanta. Like, yeah, he had said, but even, you know, even after that, like, I don't, end of the day, like, I'm not taking nothing from him as a man, but I grew up around gangsters, bro. Like, I don't take no rapper serious when it comes to no shit like that. Like, cause if you was, a rapper is the most recognizable face on the planet. Like, you're not really gonna do something. So I didn't take it as no threat, you feel me? But when OG Mako had went through his situation with his health, I actually reached out to him and I was like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't take it no way, so I reached out to him and was like, yo, you know, I hope you get better, whatever. But P, he had I think this was around the time when Baby was doing My Turn. You know, I would comment on stuff that he would say. He would, you know, comment back to me, or we would talk in DM from time to time. And then when My Turn was coming out, he had told me send him my number. I sent him my number, and he like, yo, you know, he like, I want to get Baby on that show. He like, I watch that show every day. He like, I want Baby on that show. So I'm like, all right, cool. I went to our talent. I said, well, listen, we got Lil Baby dropping the album. We got to get Lil Baby on here. So we get Lil Baby on there and everything, and then P just told me to holla at him, you know, once we finished and shit, and holla at him later on. So I spent the whole day. At this time, I was working at Asylum, you know what I mean, because I took a job over there. I was working with Sada Baby and all that shit. So P, you know, he had me come down to his hotel, and we chopped it up, and he just was telling me about, you know, what QC was from the start, how he built it with not a lot of people, and you know how he was looking to expand the business and build it out. And he was like, yo, you know, if it makes sense in the future, I would love for you to be a part of it. You know what I mean? He like, I don't know you like that, but I think that you're smart. You know what I mean? You seem about your shit, and I would want you to be there. And man, he didn't know what he did when he said that. I'm like, nigga, it's QC. Like, you feel me? Like, I'm like, it's QC. So what I did was, you know, through that, me and P just started building a relationship, and I would call him, you know, whenever I could, because he's a busy person, but I would call him, and, you know, he would call me, and we would talk and all of that. And then eventually that, like, I would just make myself available. It was one time, I think it was when he gave Bankroll Freddie the purple Lambo. I went to the club with him that night, and I was down here. I would fly out myself, and I was down here, and, you know, my man Corey, he had told me, like, yo, P wants you on the couch with him, you know what I mean? So I don't stand on couches, but I stood on the couch. We chopping it up and shit, because I just don't like attention, you know what I mean? So we stood on the couch and shit, and then he was like, I said, yo, I'm just letting you know, P, like, you know, I want to be here, like, I want to be a part of QC, like, that's why I'm taking the initiative to come down here, like, I want this shit, you know what I mean? And he was like, all right, like, he don't say a lot, you know what I mean? But he's like, all right, and then after that, came to QC, you know what I mean?
That's hard.
Yeah.
Bought a house in Atlanta,
all that
Facts.
shit, you know what I mean?
How did it feel to buy that property, man? From going to apartments and, you know what I'm saying, the concrete jungle to this beautiful peach tree land, you know what I mean?
No, it was good, but it was bittersweet too, bro, because, you know, like I said, so 2020, I lost my dad, you know what I mean? I lost my dad in September, and then I buried my dad in October, and then, like, in October, my aunt got really sick. My dad was the oldest of five siblings, and it was just them two left. You know, my aunt was dealing with depression because she lost my cousin. She had a son, and he passed away a few years prior. So my dad passed, then my aunt passed in January 2021. Then my grandma passed in March of 2021, and I'm the only boy of 7 grandkids. So me and her had a really, really, really special relationship. You know what I mean? And me and my aunt was really tight, and me and my dad, like, my dad was my best friend. You know what I'm saying? So when I bought the crib, everybody I really wanted to call and tell, I couldn't. You know what I mean? Like I remember when I finally closed on that shit, and I understood, like, I never understood why closing was such a big thing, but you go through so much to close. When I closed, bro, like, everybody was, like, my family, everybody was happy. Like, I walked outside by myself, and my youngest daughter, Logan, she came out, and she just, like, she hugged me, and she was like, you okay? And I'm like, I shed a tear, and then I was just like, damn, I wish I could call my grandmother. Because I was trying to move my grandmother down here too. You know what I mean? I wanted to move my mom, and I was trying to get myself a crib, and I was wanting to buy a house for my grandmother and my mom's. And I was talking to my grandmother about it, and she was just like, I don't know. She's like, I never left the Bronx. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she was 89 years old too. You know, she lived a full life. So I felt her presence that day, but it was bittersweet. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, dealing with that part of like depression. You know what I mean? Like I had then that cloud comes back over on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was good though. It was I say buying a home was like one of my greatest achievements outside of having children. You know what I mean?
No, that's real.
Yeah.
Now that you're at QC, what would you say is your goal there? Because like you said, we don't never make it. We just get new goals.
We get new goals. Yeah, I think it's just, man, QC is a big ass mansion that Coach and P have built, and you know the Migos and Little Baby and the City Girls and Yachty, and I'm just trying to build my wing on the mansion. You know what I mean?
Facts.
Shouts out to my sister Branja Ringo. You know what I mean? She's co-head of A&R with myself. We announced together. You know what I mean? In 2022 and everything. I'm just trying to add what I can, you know what I mean, my part of the story. Like if QC is a book, I want my part of the story is breaking Baby Money, you know what I mean? Helping
Shout out Baby Money.
Yeah,
man.
shout out Baby Money, man. You know that I signed him. That was the first thing I did when I came over there. Helping Ice with Vezo get to another level, you know what I mean? Like Duke Deuce, you know what I mean? Duke Deuce, who I not only as his A&R, but I manage him as well. You know what I'm saying? Like helping Duke Deuce, man. Like that kid is so talented, bro. And
Duke
I need the world.
one of the most talented niggas, bro. That was my first big DGB interview.
For real?
Swear to God.
Bro, man, Duke is one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. And like the next shit we working on, we just got to take the time. It's a slow cooked meal. But I'm telling you, when we give it to the people, bro, it's going to be really, really good. And like helping Duke break, you know, now that I'm getting older, as much as I do love music, I want to venture into sports eventually. Like, I'm not giving up on music, but you know, just learning that aspect. We got the sports department who I be trying to help out, you know, on the basketball side. You know what I mean? We got Alvin, you know what I mean, from as a football player. We got a lot of shit going on, and I'm super grateful to P. I'm super grateful to Coach, Simone, Tamika, Deja, everybody that's a part of our team. You know what I mean? For not only me getting the opportunity from the CEOs, but being able to work with all of these great people. I learned from all these people, man. Like it's this crew in the office, you know what I mean? A bunch of young ladies, I call them Wayno's angels, you know what I mean? Because what I see about them is I see a lot, like in each one of them, I see some of me when I was young and I was trying to get to it. So I try to encourage them and, you know, help them build. And I just want to build this shit. Like QC is already built, but I want to build, like, niggas be like, man, like 10 years from now, people be like, yo, remember when Wayno was there? Listen, I tell Coach all the time, y'all gonna have to kick me out this motherfucker. You feel me? But
sure.
I just want people to be like, man, when Wayno came, like the shit he brought to the table, and just inspire the next person that's coming up behind me. Cause I don't want nobody to be the next Wayno. I want somebody to be the next motherfucker that look at what I had going on and trump me. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what I've been trying to do. You know what I mean? I just trying to be the best version of myself. So I just want to inspire the youth, you know what I mean? And give opportunities that they could fucking get out the hood, man, because that shit's real.
Nah, for
bro,
real.
I'm telling you, bro, when you sharing a fucking crib with 5 motherfuckers in this one bathroom, that shit ain't no joke. Motherfuckers fighting, shooting outside. Bro, that's what I'm saying, yo. When I came in the media, bro, people thought that I was, now look, the word journalist, I'm not a journalist. And the reason why I say I'm not a journalist is because I don't want to disrespect nobody who went to school for that, who that was their dream, who they took that shit serious, because I'm a nigga that just know how to talk. You feel me? I don't want nobody thinking that I'm trying to like run with that title, because like I said, when I came into the game, bro, on the media side, niggas thought I was some journalist that went to school for all these years and I ain't never did shit. Nigga, I was on 119th at Lexington, 152nd at 8th, and 152nd at 7th for the past 20 years. You feel me? So, just trying to, you know, be better, bro. That's all.
Nah, that's real. Talk about a lot of people when QC had Coach and Q. Coach and Q.
Mm-hmm.
When Coach and P had sold QC, a lot of people didn't understand. So, you know, he had a lot of unwanted opinions, or a lot of people who just literally lacked the intelligence to have an opinion on the subject. So why don't you, as a member of the A&R team, tell us the benefits and what actually a wonderful thing that actually is?
Well, I'll tell you like I tell everybody else, man. I remember P put up this quote one time. He said, never talk until it's time to yell checkmate. right? And that's real, because I found out when you found out. Like, I didn't know shit was happening.
Yeah.
But I did know that they was working on something. What I will say is this, right? Like, I seen this interview with Jay-Z and Kevin Hart, and Jay-Z was saying how we're so conditioned to believe that the only way we could be successful is if we own 100% of something, right? Like, oh, he was saying about Bill Gates owning like 1% of some $1 trillion company, and he was like, from our culture, we'd say, oh, he only owned 1%, he ain't got shit, you know what I mean? 1% of $1 trillion company, what? So he was saying, like, you know what he did, where he sold his stake in something and he made $750 million or whatever the case may be. What I say is this, right? I can't speak on the specifics of the deal or the terms, because I don't know that. That's not for me to know. What I will say though is that we partner with a company like Hybe, right? If anybody looks at a Hybe, they look at, you can see the work that they've done over time and see the shit that they got or the shit that they've been doing, what they've done with artists and how they've built, and can say, damn, like, how can we apply that to what we got going on? I think that's the biggest problem is the problem is this, bro. Whenever somebody sells something or they get a business partner, we expect every single partner to be black. The thing about black partners is what we just did, we don't get to do that. So how can we build black partners if we don't become the black partner first? You feel me? Like, what we trying to do, what we're building over here is some shit that's never been done. And that's not no disrespect to nobody that came before us, but like, what I know about P is that he loves Birdman, you know what I mean? And look at what Cash Money did. Even look at what Roc-A-Fella did transitioning into Roc Nation. You know what I'm saying? Like, look what Cash Money did. Look what Cash Money did with giving Wayne Young Money and Wayne having Nicki and Drake. You know what I mean? And Tiger, because Tiger wasn't popping in the beginning. He ended up being a big artist later on. You feel me? So it's like, I think that we got to stop. First of all, we got to stop speaking without having information. That's something that we love to do. We love to give an opinion, a concrete opinion, or a take, or a hot take with this dumbass media shit without having no information. I thought journalists were supposed to confirm facts or get information. Talk to somebody that's on the ground doing the work and find out what's going on before you say, oh man, them niggas done sold out. They fucking with them white boys over there. Man, the little baby will never be the same. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro. You don't even know. Like, what I always say about shit like that is this. There's a level of confidentiality in everything. Nigga, if you work at Costco, you can't know everything that the manager knows. So how the fuck could you, a person that don't be in our buildings, don't know nothing about us, know what the fuck we just did?
Right.
You feel me? So just tell people, watch, man. Just watch. QC ain't going nowhere.
Nowhere, man.
QC ain't going nowhere.
That's the label. What's next for Wayno?
I mean, right now, you know, I have a deal with Amazon, you know what I mean? Amazon Music specifically in rotation, where I had my show connected with Wayno. I was doing that for a bit. We canceled out that show because it was just like the dynamic of Twitch, you know what I mean, is different than having a talk show on Twitch. So they just feel like I could be potent in different areas. So we reconfiguring, you know, what's the next steps for Wayno in the Amazon Music field. But I'm working on shit, man. I'm about to bring my podcast back. You know what I'm saying? I'm working on some sneaker content. I'm working on a few things, man, because I just want to be active, man. Like, yo, my dad, I know I've referenced my dad a few times during this, you know what I mean? My dad was a street nigga, man, and, you know, he died that way. But one thing that I always remember that my dad told me was, I remember Derek Fisher had signed with the Knicks, right? And I was like, at this time, I probably was like 20-something, 28, 27, 28. And I was like, man, that nigga, he like 37. Why he signed with it? My dad said, shit, nigga, that nigga go out there and play, you better go get that money. You feel me? So, nigga, we ain't gonna be here forever, bro. So as long as I'm here, man, I'm gonna make an impact. I'm working on my nonprofit organization called Heal the Homies. You know what I mean? Where I want to help, you know, people from my neighborhood, and not just my neighborhood, but from your neighborhood. Like, one thing, being black and coming from the hood, our common denominator is poverty. You feel me? And that poverty leads to mental health issues. That poverty leads to financial issues. I'm trying to learn as much as I can about reform. I got to get with Meek again, you know what I mean? Because I told him I wanted to learn about the jail reform shit. But, like, you know, Heal the Homies is predicated on you know, helping our people get the right help. And the homies doesn't mean the fellas, it means the ladies too. Because we don't talk about the young women who go to prison, you know what I mean, for the same shit that men do and do the same time and have to come back in society and readjust. So what I want to do is I want to help, you know, brothers and sisters, you know, come back into society and readjust and learn value of themselves, you know what I mean? Like, that's something I'm really big on, because the only reason why I'm sitting on this porch right now is because I saw value in myself at a young age. And while I might have had certain esteem issues and all of that, I'm here because of my value, so.
Real spill, man. Any last words and shout outs?
Oh man, you know, shout out to On the Porch, man. Like, man, I got to give it to you, brother, man. Like, thank you for having me, for real.
No problem, gang. Appreciate all the game and the wisdom. Shout out QC.
Oh man,
Shout out
to
to
QC.
homie Deja over there too.
Oh yeah, that's a fact. Yeah, Deja, that's
my
my
homie
homegirl,
too.
man. But shout out to everybody at QC, you know what I'm saying? My whole the entire staff, you know what I mean? Everybody's coming. We got, you know, Baby Money, he coming with some new shit. Icewear Vezo coming. Of course, you know, Lil Baby probably got something in the works. Quavo working. You know what I mean? Yachty, man, my man Boat. Boat is my favorite person.
So
I love
crazy,
Boat, man.
bro.
That's my guy,
Yachty
man.
always been one of my favorites, bro. I hate, like, when he first came out, niggas was trying to throw salt on him because they didn't understand him.
Bro, you know what's crazy about that? And I say this to close it though, but like Yachty, I remember he told me this before I came to QC. He was like, man, because it was one time we was talking about him on Everyday Show. I was like, Yachty could rap if you really listen.
Bro, Yachty can rap his ass
yeah, and
off,
then he
bro.
was like, man, yo, nobody never stick up for me, you know what I mean? So me and Yachty, we got a really good relationship, but you know what I mean? We got some development acts that we haven't, you know, announced yet. We working on. I gotta give it to my boy SCY Jim, you know what I mean? Coming from Bunnell, Florida.
For sure.
He coming Duke Deuce, you know what I mean? City Girls, Lakia. Gloss Up.
Shout out Gloss, man.
Gloss is crazy. I love, that's my little sister, man. I love Gloss Up. But we, Leighton Green, hold up. I gotta say this. Leighton Green got one of the dopest R&B projects coming, man. She's been working so hard, and I'm happy that she trusted me to help her get it across the line. But Leighton Green is on her way, man. QC, man, we coming with some heat. You know what I mean? Sports, films, management, all that.
All of it, man. Wayno, we appreciate having you on the porch with us today, gang.
Peace.
Ocean blue tint, I'm a shark in the bin. Try to tell me I ain't shit cause I fucked all they friends. I don't love a bitch, make her fuck all my man. Think I'm up